Did you know that 90% of the world's millionaires invest in real estate? Well, I'm Angel with the Academy Presents Real Estate Investing Rocks, and I'm here to help you if you want to go for your piece of that pie.
Okay. Beauty of technology. We're all Zooming, we're all interacting virtual.
Hey, and it happens to everybody. So like I have two really great stories about, like technology fails, through all of this. So there is a multifamily investor coach, and he's based here in Dallas. I think a lot of people know him, but he hosted a big national convention. What was it, last month? And of course, a lot of these events are virtual. So the night before, they were, getting everything running at the studio. Everything's running great. Then the lead technician was at the studio like till all hours of the night. I think it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, something like that. He was exhausted, and he went home, and apparently he was so exhausted he fell asleep. His phone was dead, and he was the one that had the passcode to start.
Oh no!
So like that morning, I log on because I'm supposed to be in studio that day at like 12 to share a little bit around water efficiencies. And so I log in the morning because I want to know what's going on, and I want to network, and I can't get on. It just says waiting for the meeting to start. I'm like, what is going on here? Then I see on all the chat groups, everybody's freaking out. They can't get in. They can't get in. And then they were getting so nervous because they couldn't reach him because his phone was dead. And they were like, they weren't even sure what happened. So imagine that you have almost 1,000 attendees, right? But they got it all worked out. And I go, so what was your seminar, from this particular situation? He's like, well, one person should not hold the code. So that, and then with the Old Capitol event, they opened the networking sessions, and they started the breakout rooms Wednesday night, and they had upgraded their Zoom account. Tuesday night. Before. They upgraded their Zoom account, but there was some technical difficulty with Zoom, and it didn't transition them, and it maxed out at 100 attendees. And so all these people couldn't get in. So it happens to the best of us.
So we had our 3-day summit the last week of September, and we're still pretty small. I run all the Zoom. My husband does all the background of the warnings to be, you're on in 30 minutes, you're on in 15, you're on in 5. Why aren't you on? And so it's just he and I. And Thursday went great. Friday went great. Saturday, all of the carrots were gone. Like I couldn't share. I couldn't give their screens. I couldn't do anything. And so like I had to shut everything down and then reopen it, and then shut it down again and reopen it. And finally on the third time it worked. But technology can do some crazy things. Well, before it cut you off, you were talking about you would think that most owners had already their not appliances, but their fixtures and their toilets and everything over. What were you saying about that?
Well, I think too, the reason why so many owners and investors skipped over it was because it wasn't really sexy. I'd rather fix the countertops in the bathrooms or put in a new shower stall. I can skip, or the flooring. I can skip the toilet, and it was skipped for so many years. And now, as more and more properties turn over, and some of these value add programs were implemented, the real opportunity now is in replacing that toilet that's been there and just wasting not only water, but also wasting money and deteriorating their ROI.
I would have never even, again, like you said, toilets aren't sexy, but I would have never even.
But the cash flow is. So
yeah,
that's where it translates, and it's one of the quickest returns on your investment than any other upgrade on the property. It's like we're full turnkey. So our crews will come in once we, run a whole, financial analysis, will come in and complete an assessment. Our crews, when they install, they access 50 to 60 bathrooms a day. And so this is able to reduce that expense very quickly.
Yeah, isn't
Yeah,
it
that's just
crazy?
what, so yeah, so like our personal portfolio is single family homes and residential multifamily. So, 4 units or less. And
Mhm.
I'm sitting here thinking, should we go and look at the
Yes.
toilets on all of our properties?
Yes.
Because I mean, I don't think someone would, I just can't imagine somebody calling our property manager and being like, "Hey, our water bill was $150 this month and we don't know what." So
Yeah.
that's I guess people just pay the bill.
No, they don't. They
That's just
complain
wild.
about it. I mean, especially like in my neighborhood. I mean, the day that the bills hit everybody's mailboxes because our community Facebook page is like blown up with, oh my gosh, I can't believe how high my water bill is. So these things are happening, and you should always take a look. Otherwise, you're leaving money on the table.
Especially multifamily too. You mentioned single family, you have 1 or 2 toilets per house, and you compound that on a multifamily property, and all of a sudden you've got 500 toilets that are inefficient. You can just imagine, what that does to your consumption. But also, we mentioned water. Water is super destructive. So if you leave that leak alone, not only is it, I've seen showers specifically with the tub diverter leaking, where they've actually had to redo the whole shower stall because that leak just ate up everything on that floor, on the floor.
Yeah.
So it's super destructive.
So I guess like if you have a leak, so like I'm thinking about like my grandparents' house. So their house was built in the 70s. And
Mhm.
I can remember when the upstairs shower started leaking through the floor. And I'm guessing that in the 70s, they probably like they had that, it's like a metal little tub that's like around the sides that kind of it goes in the bottom of the shower so that it doesn't corroded through. And in the 70s, I don't think they used like the cement board and stuff.
Mhm.
They just used studs and subflooring, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things
But
they
then
didn't use in the
will like a
70s.
hardy backer or a rhino board or something, is that gonna
Yeah.
slow things down?
I'm sure it does. Again, that's not like our main focus. I think that a lot can be achieved just through replacing those inefficient fixtures, right? So if you could just fix that toilet that's nonstop leaking, that's going to help everything else, especially if the leak is coming from up above. So again, when we do these installs, we have crews that are just professionals. They've seen it all, they've experienced it all. So they're able to navigate through these problems really, really quickly. And so if anybody's contemplating doing it, well, I can do it in-house, right? No, don't do it in-house. Let us do it. We're the professionals. We have the experience. Our crews are professional. They have the experience. They've seen it all, and they know how to react and protect your asset in case something like that does happen where it starts leaking. Because on these 70s, 80s properties, that plumbing infrastructure is old. That PVC pipe, CPVC, or that galvanized pipe, it's old. There's going to be issues. So that's why you let us, as the pros, do something like that for you.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna assume that when you go to, or when someone comes to you, you have like all the data in play that shows, hey, your upfront cost may be this, but this is what you get to look forward to for the next couple of decades and beyond. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So, the average ROI on any of these projects is 12 to 14 months, right? So you're going to be able to benefit very quickly on it. We've seen ROIs much lower than that, but we want to be realistic with the numbers. So we back in to the calculations down to the number of residents per unit, the number of minutes that we're averaging that a person is taking a shower. And those are all variables that we can adjust for those owners that really, really want to get, very specific, but we have found it most successful to use the EPA averages. And then we take another layer of that that's very conservative. And instead of running calculations, across every single bathroom, we're taking a little more conservative approach based upon our experience. Because the last thing we want to do is prepare a proposal for you and an analysis that is too aggressive, right? That just doesn't make sense. And we've had those conversations. In fact, we were just talking about it this morning. We've had those conversations where we've had owners are like, well, can't you find us like, another $2,000 a year or something like that on savings? What if we run it this way? I'm like, no, you can run it that way if you want to write that in. But this is what our recommendations are. And this is what we believe that you're going to achieve and provide that transparency to the investors.
She mentioned
Cool.
proposals.
So I recently,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
sorry.
Angie. So she had
No,
mentioned
I recently
proposals,
heard,
so we had talked about, how do investors, owners reach out to us and get involved with us. So proposals, we do offer free conservative proposals and with just some basic information. So if you provide us with the property name, the property address, and the unit mix of that property, as well as a water bill, that helps us put together that super conservative pre-proposal for you so that you can include it in your underwriting and your LOI.
oh, cool. So I recently heard that on the cost segregation, that like conservation and replacement of these items that you're talking about can be cost segged. Do you know about that?
So it depends on who you talk to. Okay. And when you're dealing with cost seg, especially when you're dealing with the IRS, you want to make sure that you've done your homework on everything. That, because there's so many different components on the properties that you can cost seg, right? But on this type of project, it is, I can very comfortably share with you, it is not. It's not. And I've challenged that with a few others that have said, oh yes, it absolutely is. And I've gone directly to, who I value as like the absolute, king of cost seg in the industry. And he explained to me why it's not. So ask the question. And if there's new legislation out there, or because things are constantly changing, right? So maybe something has come up, but a few months ago, I double checked and it was shared no. So if your cost seg person is saying yes, ask them.
Yeah,
Oh, hey,
we want to know.
yeah, we want to know.
Something changed.
Yeah. Yes, because that's such a
Wow,
huge
and
component.
yeah,
I mean,
so guys,
most everybody's running cost
yeah,
studies on their properties, which is like, it is something is a must, right? But we want to make sure that what's being included in there is going to be accurate, so you don't get in trouble.
yeah. And guys, for my listeners that don't understand, or maybe you haven't heard us talk about cost segregation before, that's where you can like take specific parts of your investment property and you get to do faster depreciation on them. So there's little pieces where you can like bonus depreciate or take it all up front. It's one of the beautiful things about multifamily. Even if you're a passive, you still get that depreciation. And it's pretty awesome. It's one of the reasons why a lot of people in real estate don't have a taxable income. So
perfectly legal. Perfectly legal.
They use their passive to offset, their W-2, right? Or they just run on passive or as GPs entirely. So that is such a, I'm glad you brought that up because it is such a hot topic, especially given the political climate we're in right now. But it absolutely is legal. But we always recommend to have your CPA, have your CPA that is is well versed in real estate, right? Because there's different tax laws associated with that. But that's one of the greatest benefits of cost seg, is being able to take that depreciation on the front side. So absolutely.
Yeah. So, and one of the things I've recently learned too is that you can actually cost seg on a single family property. So we weren't aware of that. And so now we're trying to, I guess, back into it,
Mhm.
because you can go backwards so many years also if you
Yes.
haven't been doing it. So
I
yeah,
had
we're
heard
pretty
that as well. I can't remember how far you can go back, but I had heard that as well. So
yeah, we're kind of excited about that. So, but there is a point where it's not really cost effective,
mhm.
and I don't remember the amount. Like in my head, I'm thinking 350,000, but I could be wrong. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not any of those things.
Right.
So don't take me at 100% because I don't want to get in trouble.
Right.
But
But if you want to talk saving and reducing your water expense, that's where we
That's where
are
we're
expertise.
certified. Yeah.
so when you talk about fixtures, I understand that like toilets are the big problem, but how do like faucets and stuff like that play into it?
Mhm. Yeah. Faucets, we often see residents where they will, they will unscrew the mesh screen on their faucet so that they can get an increased water flow. And when you see that, I mean, that faucet could be spitting out 8 gallons of water a minute. So you don't want to have that when you're in the bathroom and you're just brushing your teeth or washing your hands. So as part of make readies or doing quarterly walks, we always suggest a best practice is to check the faucets to ensure that those aerators are still in place. So if you're going into a property and you're upgrading it, a lot of owners and investors, they'll go ahead and upgrade those fixtures. And most of those fixtures today on the market are already, they're already manufactured at a reduced flow rate, which is efficient. But there are still a ton of older fixtures out there that the new team is not going to come in and do a whole vanity package. They might just change out the flooring, change out, the toilet or something like that, but they'll leave that faucet. So at that point, you have an opportunity to put on an adapter, essentially a screw-on aerator, and it will reduce that water.
And the shower heads too. I mean, I'm sure you walked into your units and the resident has put in that, 10 gallon a minute rain shower head. That's, this huge circle that just spits out water like a waterfall.
Yeah.
So that's another area, where you can drastically reduce the consumption is just putting in something that's more efficient, but still provides that same power and that same feeling as maybe that shower head that's producing a 10 gallon a minute flow.
That's something also is that, especially with the shower heads, most people are not supportive of like the WaterSense certified shower heads because they are getting an experience of like very poor water pressure coming out of that. And that, again, is one of the reasons why we exclusively partnered with Niagara, because they, have re-engineered this, and their shower heads are fantastic, where we're taking shower head flow rates down to 1.25 gallons per minute. And, when you're running an average shower of, 10 minutes per person a day, that's a big reduction, not only on the electricity, right, or the gas to warm the water, but also just on the consumption alone.
Yeah. So I'm sitting here, I've had long hair my whole life pretty much. And those more efficient fixtures do scare me
Yes.
because I'll never get the suds out of my hair
Yeah.
if I don't have some water pressure.
Yes.
And so like thinking about something that could be more efficient but still have pressure.
Yeah.
Like trying to wrap my head around it, because I'm thinking like to get more pressure you need bigger pipes. And so for it to be able to occur in a different fashion is kind of mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So inside of the shower heads, they're using what they call an Equiforce technology. It's a patented design. So it's where it's basically able to, you know, filter the water in and then take the energy of it to put the force behind it.
Wow. That is just so cool. So, so for my audience, for my listeners, as unsexy as you may think it is, again, the money that you're going to save is super sexy.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to talk to these guys when it comes time for you to do some due diligence and you're looking at your property, because you want to be able to take into consideration the costs of making these changes, but over the lifespan of your ownership of that location, you're going to be very, very happy. So, you know, I just want to thank these guys for coming out. So thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Anselmo, for being on the show today and for sharing with us all of these opportunities to save money, because that's something we all want to do. And just, if you don't have a property, share it with your friends. Maybe they're going to buy a property, or maybe you're a single family home person. It doesn't really matter, because if you can make your residents happy on their bills, they're going to tell their friends and you're going to have lower vacancy rates. So again, Kelly and Selmo, thank y'all for coming on today. It's been awesome. And I've really enjoyed learning about it. So I can now say that I enjoy learning about toilets.
Never look at a toilet the same way.
Yeah.
You're going to look at it differently.
You know, does it still spin the same way?
Yes.
I didn't know it was like just an all, because if it had a lot of suction, it wouldn't necessarily rotate. I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
But yours are rotating. It's probably inefficient. It's probably using a lot of water. So we got to talk.
Oh no. All right. We probably will have to talk. So listeners, thanks for joining us. And I will see y'all next week. And again, thank you to Kelly and Selma for joining us today. And just, I hope you learned a lot, because this was really cool stuff. So see you guys next week. And again, Kelly and Selma, thank y'all for coming today. It's been awesome and learned an absolute ton. And I hope that's not a pun, but anyway.
Thank you so much.
See y'all next time.